It feels weird talking about myself in third person. I feel like that's the true sign that you made it. You get me? But anyway, I was born in Mandeville, Manchester. You know, I grew up there. Finished high school, Manchester High School. After high school, I came to Miami, Florida, where I, studied music. Pretty much developed a love for the culture in Miami. And that fused with the culture that I got from my time living in Jamaica kind of makes who Kris Karz is, kind of makes up the sound, you get me?
So tell us about the moment you decided that you wanted to pursue a career in music.
Oh man, it's so funny you ask that because I feel like I know the exact moment. I was like 15 in high school. I wasn't really good enough a musician to make the school band. So what I did, my brother had a copy of FL Studio 6 at the time. So I made this beat and I brought it back to school to play in the music room. They had these big PA system there and I played the beat. And like after I played it, like everybody went crazy. So I'm like, after I see like the reaction from the crowd is like, I don't know. It's hard to describe the feeling when you see that your music moves somebody in a way like that. You get me? So from there, even though the beat was probably trash, I still have that beat, by the way. But it still was a super visceral experience for me. And from then, I just decided to work on my talents as a music producer.
What sparked your interest in production?
My brother brought home a copy of FL Studio 6 one day, and it's like crack, bro. He has worked on it for hours and hours and hours, and I had prior experience with instruments and stuff like that, so I kind of sort of got like a feel for the theory and whatever. So from there, I just kind of worked on like the programming, trying to build songs and stuff like that, beats or whatever,
Describe your sound and who have been some of your influences, and are they all musical?
That's a great question. Well, let me start off by saying my influences. My influences are first is Stevie Wonder. I feel like he's a phenomenal musician, songwriter, just an overall talented person. I always feel like I have four major influencers that created like that my sound or my kind of passion. Stevie Wonder, Kanye West, Pharrell Williams, and Chad Hugo, which is the Neptunes, and Steve McGregor. You know what I mean? In my opinion, one of the best dancehall producers ever. So they are the ones who really influenced my sound, you know what I mean? I still listen to their music up to this day. And as far as the Kris Karz sound, I would say it's probably like a mixture of like my experiences here in Miami and my experience in Jamaica. I work with a lot of rappers, so instinctively my music is more hip-hop based, but I also work with like reggae artists and stuff like that, so I do a lot of reggae, a lot of dancehall influence music and stuff like that. So that's where I say my influence can be.
Who are some of the artists you produced for so far, and do you have any dream collaborations?
Some of the artists I collaborated with so far, of course you have Dylan Golden. He's pretty much the main artist I work with. And of course, some of the local reggae artists here in Miami, like K. Charles, Jay Stone, tons of artists. Some of the artists in Jamaica making a buzz right now, like Leno Banton, Black Hero, stuff like that. And as far as the artists I've worked with, there's some bigger name people. I don't really want to mention it to jinx it. You know what I mean? I want to see what happens, but if everything goes well this year, you're going to see like my name on a bigger level, I feel like.
Any dream collaborations?
Dream collaborations, of course, for certain. Yeah, you know what I mean? Pharrell, Stevie Wonder, Kanye West, Stevie McGregor, the people I mentioned before. Those are definitely some of the people I'd like to work with. That would be it. Like after that, I don't even think I want to make any music anymore. After that, that would be it.
So, what have been some of your best moments in your career so far?
Wow. I would say is either winning my first beat battle with Ice Standard. I got like an MPC off of that, which was cool. That was the first kind of vindication I got from making music. You know, a lot of the times when we make music, we don't really see like the fruits of our efforts or whatever. So it's kind of cool to see that people appreciate what you're doing as far as a musical way. And also, I performed with my guy Dylan Golden in New York last year, and just to see like the full house, just here to see this guy I work with, it really something that motivates me. You know what I mean? So those are probably the highlights of my career so far.
Nice. You're based in Florida. How has the change in environment influenced your creativity?
Yeah, I mean, I touched on that a little bit on the other questions here. Man, Miami just have like a certain vibe, you get me? I don't want to sound like DJ Khaled too much, but it's really like a certain energy to Miami. It's honestly, it's almost similar to the energy what you get from like the Caribbean, like Jamaica and stuff like that, because there's like a lot of Caribbean people here, you know what I mean? The Hispanic culture is very real out here, you know what I mean? I love salsa music, merengue, bachata, and all that stuff. So a lot of the music you'll see me make, I'll put like elements of that inside of it. And a lot of the artists that I work with now are Miami artists, you know what I mean, Hispanic as well. So it definitely is, Miami, the city of Miami is definitely one of the bigger influences of my career right now.
So speaking of creativity, what gets Kris Karz going when it comes to making a beat? What's your favorite equipment to use? Software?
Of course, my keyboard. I do use a guitar as well. I'm not very good at guitar as yet, but you know what I mean, it helps the creative process a little bit. I usually start off as far as beat making and stuff like that with like some piano riffs, probably something really soulful, something really musical. I started off, as I mentioned, using FL Studio, but I'm now transitioning into Ableton Live, which is amazing. I really, especially after all those years in FL Studio, I never thought I would use another DAW. But Ableton is really is the move. Ableton doing like a phenomenal job with their DAW. So it's all I need really is like a keyboard and a microphone and the Ableton and I'm set usually.
You also own the brand Kingly Studios and produce an acoustic series called Kingly Live. Tell us a little about what's going on there.
Well, Kingly Live is basically a concept I came up with while recording a friend of mine in my studio. We were just like jamming, trying to get a vibe in the studio, and we were like, yo, let's record this jam and just post it, you know what I mean? Originally it started off as just audio, and then I feel like people don't really digest audio alone that well. So from there I decided to like record the video and stuff like that, and from there the idea started to develop more and more, and it is what you see today, Kingly Live. So yeah, it's just been a blessing, you know what I mean? It's something it's a very useful tool to meet up and coming talent, to meet people who are just like passionate about music, passionate about live music, because I feel like the dopest artists are the ones who have like a great live sound, you get me? It's because I like listening to live music, you know? So
yeah. You sometimes, have your own creative artistry, and you're working on a project. You can tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. I am working on a project. The project is done actually. Going to release a project towards the end of the year. Just stay tuned is all I'll say. I have some of my favorite artists on the project. You know what I mean? Some of them you are definitely familiar with. Tons of I received some help from some visual artists who I respect as well. So yeah, just stay tuned is all I'll say on that one.
So there are times when an artist tends to get more exposure in the music industry with the benefits to match. With producers like Not Nice, Metro Boomin, Kanye West, and Steven the Genius, do you think that producers are getting enough respect and enough recognition?
That's a good question. You know what I mean? For me, I don't necessarily do producing for recognition, but I do believe that people devalue the word producer. You get me? Like they don't understand the value of a producer, and sometimes that it can be a bit disheartening. But I don't really produce music to get like recognition like that. I just do it because I like making songs. You get me? So I feel like we're coming to a point actually where producers are actually becoming the stars, as you mentioned, the Metro Boomings of the world, Illmind, and all those dope producers. Their brand is in a lot of ways surpassing the artists that they are currently working with. So yeah, man, we'll see. I feel like the next 5 years in music is gonna be really interesting. So we'll see.
So we got one last question.
It's starting to rain out here.
What advice would you give to a producer or even a creative? And what's next for Kris Karz?
Advice, I would say just be yourself, yo. Be yourself. Don't try to compromise yourself, the integrity of your art, to fit into the schema of what exists in society nowadays. You know what I mean? I know it's kind of tough, especially if you're trying to make a living as a creative person, to be creative when the wave is going in a whole different direction than who you are personally. But just be yourself, you know what I mean? Keep your integrity. That's the best advice I can give. Don't be a follower, be a leader.
And what's next for Kris Karz?
What's next? We have Kingly Live Season 3 coming up. That's gonna be dope. I completely stepped up everything as far as next season. So if you've been following the Kingly Live series, definitely look out for Kingly Live Season 3. And also I have a lot of new music coming out throughout the fall, and look out for that project.
Cool.
All right.
Do you have a name for the project or not yet?
I do have a name, but I don't want to give it out as yet.
No worries. All right, Kris, thank you so much for this interview.
No problem. Big up 13th Street Promotion. Always showing the support, always showing the love. Big up Suede. You know what I mean? Always support everything that Kris Karz has done and Kingly Studios. So I really want to see it prosper, you know? So, boom, easy.